All by himself, this iconic Motown bassist transformed the art of bass playing, all the way through the Motown classic catalog, as well as a few non-Motown sides. With his usage of the electric Fender bass and his extraordinary dexterity, this musician created a new and innovative style of bass playing and elevated what some had considered a minor instrument. The bassist in question wasn't the first to play for Motown, but he was the first to add his own jazz blues background and fresh viewpoint to Motown founder Berry Gordy's R&B pop influences. The innovative bassist moved R&B pop bass playing from the standard 2-beat true fifth to an approach that was more dynamic, using zipping passing tones, Ray Brown-like walking bass lines, double stops, and syncopation. This musician playing was nothing short of revolutionary. The centerpiece of today's video is all about James Jamerson. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. Born James Lee Jamerson Jr. on January 29, 1936 in Easter Island, South Carolina, to James Lee Jamerson Sr. and his wife Elizabeth. His mother was a domestic worker and his father was employed in shipyards. Following his parents' divorce, Jamerson split his time between his musically inclined grandmother and aunt. Jamerson also spent some time at his cousin's place honing his piano skills. He spent endless hours listening to gospel, jazz, and blues as he started to hone his natural musical abilities. He was in a wheelchair for a year following a biking accident. Forced to wear high-top shoes in order to walk, the incident left Jamerson with a slight limp and a gnawing self-consciousness that would haunt him for his entire life. In 1953, Jamerson's mother moved to Detroit to find work. A year later, she sent for her son. At Northwestern High, Jamerson picked up an upright bass that was lying on the floor in the music room and found his instrument. Never a solitary play the scales millions of times type of musician, the budding young bassist honed his skills at jam sessions in the high school jazz band and by playing with some of Detroit's top jazz musicians like Kenny Burrell, Yusef Lateef, and Hank Jones. As his reputation grew, Jamerson began playing at dances, weddings, and frat parties with schoolmates Richard Popcorn Wiley and Clifford Mack. Years later, Jamerson played on a hit record of a song written by Wiley. With this Ring by the Platters, driving around Detroit with his upright bass protruding out of the window of his automobile, Jamerson was quickly rising to the status of local hero. Even though he was still underage, the Detroit Police Department granted him permission to perform in bars that allowed alcohol, which helped him find more jobs. He declined a music scholarship from Wayne State University, citing his employment in the music industry, and married Annie Wells just before graduating. He started performing with Washboard Willie and the Super Suds of Rhythm after graduating. The experience was both a blessing and a curse. By playing with the blues-based band, Jamerson learned how to play the blues, while on his other gigs he played all kinds of jazz. But he also began drinking alcohol, something he had abstained from up to that point. After hearing Jamerson perform at a Super Suds club, Northern Records owner Johnny May Matthews offered him to participate in recording sessions for the label in 1958. After other Detroit area labels noticed his distinctive approach, 22-year-old Jamerson started recording sides for a variety of labels, including Fortune, Tri-Fi, and Anna Records. Jamerson was invited to participate in a recording session at a tiny basement studio located in a remodeled home on West Grand Boulevard. This studio later served as Motown Records recording headquarters. As the Motown studio band gained notoriety, the mysterious bassist discovered his musical soulmates and drummer, Benny Benjamin, guitarist Robert White, and Joe Messina, pianist Earl Van Dyke, and the other members of the Funk Brothers. In 1961, Jamerson switched to the newly created electric Fender Precision bass. The move made his bass line stand out more on records. On some tracks, he started out recording the bass line with his trusty acoustic and then doubled the bass line with the Fender to give the bass part an extra punch. His playing was so precise that it was difficult to hear that there were two basses on the record. When the bassist wasn't touring with Jackie Wilson or recording for Motown or touring with their acts, Jamerson would travel to nearby Chicago to cut sides for VJ or Brunswick. He can be heard on John Lee Hooker's Boom Boom. The musician became so crucial to Motown's hits that recording dates would be postponed until he was available. Though Motown wasn't too keen about Jamerson and the rest of the Funk Brothers recording for other labels, the Detroit music community and several music entrepreneurs, local and otherwise, took advantage of the situation, offering the band more money, leading to the Funk Brothers being heard on a lot of backdoor sessions for the local Golden World and Rick Tick label owned by 20 Grand Club owner Ed Wingate. The band could be heard on Agent 00 Soul and Stop Her on Sight by Edwin Starr, and I Just Want to Testify by the Parliaments. For Ollie McLaughlin's Karen label, there was Cool Jerk by the Capitals. The band can also be heard on records issued by the numerous labels that sprang up in the wake of Motown's phenomenal success. Making the trips to nearby Chicago, they cut several hits for producer Carl Davis and Jackie Wilson, such as Whispers Getting Louder, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and Higher, Since You Showed Me How to Be Happy, I Get the Sweetest Feeling, and I Can Feel Those Vibrations, This Love Is Real. The success of these records, both commercially and aesthetically, suggests that if Wilson had been signed to Motown, he would have had a more consistent career. It's even more ironic given that Gordy's first big break came as one of Wilson's early songwriters in the late 50s. The band also traveled south to record in Muscle Shoals in Atlanta, among other cities. By 1968, Jamerson asked for and received a salary increase of $1,000 a week, bringing his yearly income up to $52,000 a year. That's not counting monies earned from bonuses, club dates, and backdoor sessions, but the following year, things began to change. Jamerson lost one of his closest friends, Motown drummer Benny Benjamin, to heroin addiction. Because of high demand, Motown hired other bassists in an effort to keep up with the ever-expanding recording schedules. Jamerson couldn't be in two places at once. The label's music became more dependent on written musical arrangements and less on the Funk Brothers' off-the-cuff interplay. It was hard for Jamerson to adjust to the seemingly more rigid way of doing things. Despite being a no-show at record dates, his alcoholism, and the opinion of some Motown staffers, Gordy refused to fire Jamerson. He believed that the bassist still had some music in him. The loyalty paid off as Marvin Gaye enlisted Jamerson to play on his 1971 multi-platinum Was Going On. In 1973, Motown moved to Los Angeles and Jamerson followed. The following year, the bassist's work schedule seemed to be his busiest ever as he toured with Gaye, Joan Baez, and Maria Muldaur, and recorded jingles, movie scores, TV themes, most notably Starsky and Hutch, and of course million-selling records, Al Wilson's Show and Tell, The Hughes Corporation Rocked the Boat, The Silvers' Boogie Fever, theme from SWAT by the studio group Rhythm Heritage, and Marilyn McCool and Billy Davis Jr.'s You Don't Have to Be a Star to Be in My Show. He can also be heard on Robert Palmer's Which of Us is the Fool, another gold hit that featured Jamerson was Then Came You by Dionne Warwick, and The Spinners. As far as Warwick was concerned, this was a continuation of a long collaboration. During the 60s, Warwick's songwriting producing duo, Burt Bacharach and Hal David, would have a clandestine rendezvous with the Funk Brothers. But things began to sour for Jamerson as chronic alcoholism, emotional problems, and medication-related mishaps plagued the bassist, leading to his eventual exclusion from the A-list of first-call session players. Much of the last years of Jamerson's life was spent in and out of hospitals and mental institutions, though he managed to produce some sides for singer-songwriter Kenny Coots. Just 4 months after the May 1983 NBC TV broadcast of Motown 25 Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow, James Jamerson passed from complications due to cirrhosis of the liver, heart failure, and pneumonia on August 2nd, 1983. One of his children, James Jamerson Jr., grew up to be an in-demand studio bassist, scoring a hit with his group Chanson. Callously overlooked in Motown 25, the Funk Brothers finally got their due in the excellent 1997 ABC TV special, Motown 40 The Music Is Forever, originally airing Sunday and Monday, February 15th and 16th. Despite his tragic later life, James Jamerson is remembered by his family and peers as being a kind and giving man who was always willing to help. For the world's pop music lovers, and to the countless musicians that he inspired, he's remembered as the genius whose core contributions helped define the Motown sound. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What label had the best house band?